Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, as-salatu was-salamu ala khatamil anbiya wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. We are covering ayat from Surah An-Nur, wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the test on Sayyidina Aisha radiyallahu al-Mu'minin Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. And there are many different lessons for the believers in these ayat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to listen and benefit and insha'Allah take heed to these advices. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So just to translate the ayat first, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ جَاءُوا بِالْإِفْكِ عُصْبَةٌ مِّنْكُمْ. Verily those people who came with this, ifkun means very grave buhtan, allegation. وَعُصْبَةٌ مِّنْكُمْ, there is a group amongst you. There were a group of individuals who came up with this allegation against the integrity of the character of Aisha Siddiqa radiyallahu anha. They falsely accused her. Allah Ta'ala says, لا تحسبوه شرا لكم. So this was not only a historic incident that happened in the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but unfortunately this is something that even the non-Muslims of today, different enemies of Islam, they have written books and they are, na'udhu billah, very much fascinated by this, as they are amongst themselves. There are so many of these types of affairs that happen. So na'udhu billah, they're looking from that lens and they think this happened in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, as we know, nothing could be further from the truth, and this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clarifies in these ayat. لا تحسبوه شرا لكم. Do not consider this to be bad for you, to be evil for you. بل هو خير لكم. As far as the final outcome is concerned, it is actually better for you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is consoling Aisha Siddiqa radiyallahu anha. What is the definition of shar and khair? Of course, there was a lot of pain, and pain is something that is shar. Pain is something harmful. Pain is something that we would like to avoid. A lot of anxiety she had, a lot of stress she had because of these allegations. So shar is that everything in this world, there is some good and some bad. Nothing is 100% good and nothing is 100% going to be bad for us. In the akhirah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has separated it where Jannah is 100% happiness and pleasure and Jahannam is 100% pain and torture. But in everything in this world is a mixture of both. When the khair and the goodness and the benefit of something is greater than the harm, then that is called khair. And when the harm is greater than the good, then it is called shar. But there will always be a combination. So over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا تحسبوه شرا لكم. Don't consider it shar, meaning overall, there is some pain in the immediate, but in the long term, it is going to be good for you. How is it good for you? Because all the pain that you went through, it is a means of forgiveness of your sins. It is a means of elevation of your status. When people backbite you, then they are actually transferring their good deeds to your account. And backbiting is when someone mentions a fault that you actually have and they mention it behind your back. But if they mention something about you, they falsely allege it, that is even worse than ghibah. That is buhtan. And this is what happened here, slander. So there's a difference between ghibah and buhtan. Buhtan is when someone mentions or attributes evil things to you behind your back, which you never ever committed or ever dreamed of committing. That's slander, buhtan in Arabic. And when someone mentions a fault that you do have, but there's no need to mention it, it's not that somebody asked their mashwara for a marriage proposal or for a job, or someone is asking a question to a mufti about what is the situation, how do I deal with this individual, or someone, you are harming other people and someone is warning them. None of the above. So it's a type of sin which was committed in secret and no one really is being impacted, but somebody is going out of their way to speak about that. That would be ghibah. So in that case, they are actually transferring their good deeds to you. And in fact, your sins would be going to them. بَلْ هُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ is better for you. This reminds me that if in the final outcome is khair, to emphasize this point, Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi, he made a statement. He said that as it was well known how much he loved his mother, everyone loves their mother or should love their mother. And the love of the mother for the child, the son or the daughter, young or older, is well known as the strongest love between any two human beings. The unconditional love that the mother has, no ulterior objective, the pure love. So he said that a conditional statement, right? He's trying to make a point. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes such conditional statements in the Quran too. When you hear it at first, it may seem really alarming, but there is actually a point Allah is making. So just to preface as a muqaddamah for Imam Abu Hanifa's statement, we can see ayat in the Quran wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ إِن كَانَ لِلرَّحْمَنِ وَلَدْ فَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْعَابِدِينَ. If, say Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to the Nasara, to the Christians, that if Allah truly had a son, then I would be the first one to worship him. أَوَّلُ الْعَابِدِينَ. By no means does this indicate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a son. But Allah ta'ala is making a point that if there was a son, I would worship him. It's not that I have enmity to the son of Allah. There is no son of Allah. There is no son of God. So likewise, Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi said that if I would make ghiba of any individual, if I would, is he going to do ghiba? Or if he does it, it's by mistake, he would ask Allah's forgiveness. He's not going to declare it as something he would love to do. He says here that if I would do ghiba of anyone, then I would love to do, and I would most definitely do ghiba of my mother. So he is trying to make a point. What is the point he's making is that بَلْ هُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. It is actually good for you. How is it good for you? It's because this is a way of giving good deeds to my mother. So whatever good deeds I was able to do, like if I was earning my money and I'm after taking care of my obligations, then the first person I would like to give my money to or give a gift to is my mother. So you are transferring money from your account to her account. You are quick paying your mother, you are zelling your mother, or you're sending money to your mother. Likewise, I'm sending good deeds. And the reward of a good deeds is لَوْنَ لَهُمْ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. If people had everything in the heavens and the earth, and to purchase one good deed on the Day of Judgment, they would be willing to give it up, all. So one good deed's value is more than everything in the heavens and earth. So I would love to give it to her. However, giving good deeds to mother is great, but not through the avenue of ghiba. Therefore, I can't. لا تحسبوه شرا لكم. Don't think it was bad for you. بل هو خير لكم. At the end of the day, it's actually good for you. لكل امرئ منهم اكتسب من الإثم. All of those individuals who are involved in this slander, they're going to get their full share of their sin. So they are happy about it right now. What counts is the ending, and the ending is going to be very severe for them, those who did not repent. وَالَّذِي تَوَلَّى كِبْرَهُ مِنْهُمْ. And the one who took the leading role in this entire scandal, لَهُ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. For him is a very dreadful torment. This is ayah number 11 from Surah An-Nur. So who is the one who took the biggest share? This was the Ra'isul Munafiqeen, the leader of the hypocrites, Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. He was always looking for different opportunities to cause pain to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is an opportunity he took. Physical pain. He caused many different assassination attempts upon the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and all kinds of trouble he did. So this was one of the worst cases where he attacked the integrity of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wife. Allah Ta'ala says, لَوْلَا إِذْ سَمِعْتُمُوهُمْ. Why was it not that when you heard this allegation, O believers, ظَنَّ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بِأَنفُسِهِمْ خَيْرًا. Then you should have, your knee-jerk reaction, your first reaction should have been that you should have had good opinion about, instead of Allah Ta'ala saying about others, Allah Ta'ala says, بِأَنفُسِهِمْ, regarding your own self. Meaning, the Muslim ummah is like one body. So this is a part of your own ummah. In fact, this is the wife of your Nabi. Why did you not have the good opinion? وَقَالُوا هَذَا إِفْكٌ مُبِينٌ. You should have said this is a grave allegation. This is so wrong. This is slander. لولا جاءوا عليه بأربعة شهداء. Why did they not bring 4 witnesses? فإذا لم يأتوا بشهداء فأولئك عند الله هم الكاذبون. If they were not able to produce 4 witnesses, they are in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala liars. In this case, nothing happened, as we know. But na'udhu billah, if someone comes across something that actually happened, then the general rule is they should close their eyes and move on. And if they are alone and they speak about it, they will actually potentially, if a case of qadhaf, of false allegation is brought against them by the party they're speaking about, they could end up getting lashed 80 lashes. فَجْلِدُوهُمْ ثَمَانِينَ جَلْدًا. Allah Ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ الْمُحْصَنَاتِ. Whoever alleges somebody committed zina, ثُمَّ لَمْ يَأْتُوا بِأَرْبَعَةِ شُهَدَاء, and they don't bring 4 witnesses, فَجْلِدُوهُمْ ثَمَانِينَ جَلْدًا. They will be lashed 80 lashes. وَلَا تَقْبَلُوا لَهُمْ شَهَادَةً أَبَدًا. And nobody, do not accept their testimony in any court, in any case after this. أولئك هم الفاسقون. They are sinners. إلا الذين تابوا من بعد ذلك وأصلحوا. Unless they make tawbah and they rectify their affairs. So if one person sees it, he's not supposed to say anything. If he goes and says anything, he could actually himself get in trouble. If 2 see it, they're supposed to remain silent. If 3 see it, they're supposed to remain silent. It's farad on them to remain silent. It's haram about them to speak about what they saw. And it's only if they're 4. And if 1 or 2 ended up seeing something, they're not supposed to go and call other people. So if 4 saw it, then they can testify. Not before that. So what are the chances of this happening? Very, very minimal. So this is basically like the nuclear option, the had of zina, meaning the reason any country develops the nuclear bomb is never with the intention that they never want to use it. It is just a deterrent. It's a deterrent that, okay, you have the nuclear bomb, you may potentially, another country use it against us. So the reason we have a nuclear bomb is that that if you use it against us, we will use it against you. But you never want to use it. If you, as a country, if you use it, then it's going to be, as the term is used, is assured mutual destruction, right? Assured mutual destruction, because both will be knocked out. Both will be completely destroyed. Any nuclear country, regarding another nuclear country, it's just a deterrent. So, if the U.S. sends a nuclear bomb on Moscow and destroys it, then Moscow will destroy Washington D.C., New York City, Chicago, any city that they want to, and back and forth. So if India sends a nuclear against Lahore, Islamabad, Karachi, then they will knock out Delhi and Mumbai and etc. So the whole cities will be evaporated. These are such terrible weapons. The entire city is gone. So the purpose of having a nuclear weapon is just to protect yourself from potentially ever being a victim. And if a country does not have nuclear weapons, then a country that does may, la qadar Allah, may Allah forbid, for any country, we do not want any civilians to die. All right? And any Muslim or non-Muslim, any human life to be killed unjustly. And obviously, if a nuclear weapon is used, then we're talking about tens and thousands and hundreds of thousands, millions of people dying. But in any case, if a country doesn't have one, they could potentially be open to attack. Because the other country who is detonating these bombs or sending these nuclear missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, etc., with nuclear warheads, will be feeling immune from a response. Right? So this is called, like, that's why in short they say, oh, this is like the nuclear option. You don't want to use it. It's just a deterrent. So when it comes to rajam, which is pelting to death, the non-Muslims who attack this and say that it's a very barbaric law and it is a very inhumane law, and it's not just like beheading where or hanging, which is also very bad, taking the person's life, but it's a very clean and simple, easy way for dying. But pelting to death is very, very horrific ending. So they have to understand that the bar for the evidence that has to be presented for this punishment to be enacted is very, very, very high. First of all, we're talking about not fornication, but adultery. Meaning, this is not premarital haram relationship, but extramarital. So when a person is married, and this is not talking about another thing people attack is that, oh, someone's a victim of rape and then you're going to kill them. No, a'udhu billah. That's what sometimes we read in the media about Muslim law, that they say, oh, the Muslims will actually blame the victim and kill the victim. That's not the case. Obviously, if somebody is raped, then there's no had of zina there. So you have, and we cannot take this particular ruling in isolation without looking at the entire picture. So you have a society in which the opportunities for this sin to be committed are nearly non-existent, or at least we should say very minimal chances. This is one sin wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not only make the sin haram, but all of the avenues that lead to the sin are made haram. And all of those scenarios where that sin could potentially be performed or committed are also haram. So there is not a single ayah in the Quran where Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَا تَزْنُوا, do not commit zina. Rather Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا zina, do not even come near to zina. So zina fi nafsihi by itself is haram, and those things which lead to zina are made haram. Not makruh or undesirable because it may potentially lead to it, but outright haram, as in they are major sins, kabair. So if music can increase one's passions and lusts, then music is made haram. Al-ghina yumbitu nifaq fil qalbi kama yumbitu al-ma'u zar'a. Music increases the lust and passions and creates hypocrisy in the heart like water does to crops. If dancing can create that, dancing is made haram. If remixing can potentially lead to that, that is made haram. If immodest dressing can lead to that, immodest dressing is made haram. Allah has given the awra and the satar. If speaking seductively can lead to that, Allah has made that haram. وَلَا تَخْضَعْنَ بِالْقَوْلِ. If glances can lead to that, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ, lower your glances. If so, any visual stimulation, any erotic material, anything that will increase shahwa in any way is made haram. One of the conditions in a moral society to commit this crime would be solitude. It's not a condition in an immoral society, as Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prophesies will happen before the Day of Judgment, when sins will be committed in the streets like the animals. But in a moral society, seclusion would be a condition for this even to occur. So seclusion itself, khalwa, has been made haram. So it's very, very difficult for it to even happen. Then on top of this, we have this deterrent. So there is that sword hanging over the population about the severe punishment and how Allah Ta'ala, there is khawf of al-akhirah and there is khawf in the dunya. So those who believe in Allah in the akhirah, they won't go near it anyway. But those who have less khawf of Allah, fear of Allah, but they are afraid of literally being stoned to death, they will also be afraid of committing the sin. However, again, on the flip side, for those who are saying that this is potentially innocent people may be caught up, or how barbaric this punishment is, they have to recall the fact that if one person has to see the actual crime, not something leading to the crime or potentially, but 100%, he has no doubt. 1, and then 2, and then 3 and 4. If one speaks out, he may be lashed 80 lashes. 2, 80 lashes for both. 3, 80 lashes for all 3. 4, only must be there. 4, aqil, baligh, adult, intelligent people. And after they all testify, their testimony must 100% match, and they will be each one called individually. If there is a discrepancy in their testimony, they'll all be lashed. And then when the actual punishment time comes, they're the ones who will have to pelt the stones first. If the first one hesitates, all 4 will be lashed. If the second one hesitates, all 4 will be lashed. If 3 go ahead and pelt, and then the 4th one is called and he hesitates, then all 4 will be lashed, and he will be let free. So it's very, very, very difficult for it to completely come into existence, right? So we are not supposed to go and وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا, Allah Ta'ala says, don't go and spy after people. In fact, when the one Sahabi, he came and he himself made iqrar and testified The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, no, I don't believe you, you made a mistake, and turned away. Then he came second side, he said, no, I committed a sin, purify me of my sin. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam turned away. Third time, fourth time, he made iqrar, he testified against himself 4 times. So in criminal law, the strongest form of evidence is iqrar ala nafs, when a person admits against himself without any compulsion. Not that he is beaten up by the cops in the police station, or they hang him upside down and then they force the confession. When a person willingly is confessing, because even though we have such stringent rules about 4 witnesses, there is a very minimum possibility that all 4 of them do not fear Allah, do not fear the akhirah, do not fear adhab, and they are going to be swearing and testifying and lying and not hesitating and completely conscienceless people. That possibility does exist. So in that case, we will say the one who ended up dying innocently will receive a lot of reward. Because over here, if somebody just says some bad things about you, we heard, لا تحسبوا شر لكم, don't think it's shar for you, بل هو خير لكم. So this person is going to get a lot of khair, theoretically, if that happens. However, if a person is confessing against himself and saying, I committed this sin, then there's really no possibility he's lying. It doesn't make sense. Why would he lie about himself? So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam could have acted the first time, he did it, and second time, third time. When he mentioned it 4 times, that would be equivalent of 4 witnesses. Then he was, this command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was fulfilled. And as we're talking about the sin that was committed, it is important to remind ourselves that the Anbiya alayhimus salam, they are the only ones who are ma'soom, divinely protected from committing sins. So this word is used in Urdu as well, where they just say someone is an innocent child, they say masoom bacha hai. Masoom in Urdu is used to mean innocent, but in the Arabic language, it comes from the meaning isma, which means protection. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the asim, is the protector. Like Nuh alayhi salam was telling his son, come onto the boat, and he said, no, I'm going to go onto the mountaintop. He said, Malik minallahi min asim. There's no asim, no protector today who's going to save you. Come onto the boat and accept Islam. No. So asim is the protector, and masoom is the protected. So masoom means the one who is divinely protected from committing sins. That means even the Anbiya alayhimus salam, by virtue of this term, this word masoom, if you look at it linguistically, it means that all khair and all abstinence from shar and all tawfiq for doing the right thing and all tawfiq for not doing the wrong thing, it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that وَمَا تَوْفِيقِي إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ, whatever tawfiq we have is from Allah. Is that for the normal ummati, or is also for the Rasul? Also for the Rasul. Also for the Prophet. In fact, this statement, وَمَا تَوْفِيقِي إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ, is a statement of a Nabi mentioned in the Quran. And that is a Nabi who has been granted the title of Khatib al-Anbiya, because several of his statements became words that are repeated by everyone. And that Khatib al-Anbiya is Nabiullah Shu'aib alayhi salam. He said, وَمَا تَوْفِيقِي إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. So if a Nabi is not committing a sin, it is also because Allah is protecting him. So Allah is the Asim who is protecting him, so Ma'soom, he is protected. Like this same sin, when it comes to Surah Yusuf, we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَغَلَّقَتِ الْأَبْوَابَ, she closed all the doors. Abwab, 7 doors. And that was a very unique palace, because the construction and the architecture of that was so strange. It would not ever be constructed like that to nowadays, because it violates all codes, building codes. Because you have to be a couple of exits, you have to have some exit, right? That's why we have the emergency exits. Can you imagine? This is like claustrophobic and scary if you think about it. There's a hall. You enter the door of a palace, whatever, a couple of hallways, this and that, and then you enter a particular hall. So there's a door to that hall. Okay, you walked in, can you imagine? You walked into a hall. Then what happens? Inside that hall, there's another door. And then when you open that door, maximum you have, you enter a door of a bedroom, and bedroom has a closet. But you enter the second room inside. And then when you go in that hall, it's another big hall. Inside that is another door, another room. And then inside that is another room. You see how this does not make sense? And then third room, and fourth room, and fifth room, and sixth room inside, sixth room, seventh room. 7 rooms, 7 doors. So that it's like you make a circle, make another circle inside, make another circle. You see how scary that is? So you are 7 doors from the main area of the palace. This is unbelievable. So she locked all 7 doors. She locked the outside door. She locked 7 doors. She took him all the way over there. She closed all of those 7 doors that were locked. And she tried to seduce him towards the sin. He said, I seek the protection of Allah. I cannot commit this sin with anyone, particularly the wife of my master who was so nice to me. And she was inclined towards him to commit this sin. And he would have too. يعني Yusuf alayhi salam, وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا أَن رَأَى بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ. If it wasn't that Allah protected him, and he saw the sign that Allah sent of his father Yaqub alayhi salam, indicating with his finger that, oh my son, he saw the vision of his father. The last time he saw him was when he told him, don't tell your dream. And he went to tell his dream as a young boy, and then he was taken away and thrown in the well. So he saw his father telling him, لَوْلَا أَن رَأَى بُرْهَانَ وَهَمَّ بِهَا. He would have also. So Allah Ta'ala is the one who protected. Ma'soom. So Anbiya alayhi salam are ma'soom. And the Sahaba are not ma'soom, they are maghfoor. Meaning Allah has already guaranteed that He has forgiven their sins. So the sins are only forgiven when they are committed. Because if a sin is not committed, you can't forgive it. So that means they did commit sins. But instead of focusing on the fact that they did commit sins, we have to focus on the fact that Allah has guaranteed their forgiveness. So when Allah has already forgiven it, then there's no reason for us to be hung up about it and discuss it or rationalize any of our behaviors, because we are neither masoom for sure, nor are we guaranteed maghfirah maghfoor. Of course, we are all hoping for maghfirah, desiring maghfirah, seeking maghfirah in this month of Ramadan. But we do not have that guarantee. The Sahaba already had that guarantee. So over here, there are some very, one in particular well-known Sahabi who got caught up in this. Hassan ibn Thabit radiallahu anh, who is known as the Sha'ir al-Rasul, the poet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who defended Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam against the attacks of the mushrikun. He subhanallah, he praised Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He attacked those who were attacking Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in poetry. The mushrikun of Makkah used to attack Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's honor, his family, his lineage, all different things associated with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Hassan ibn Thabit would reply back. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to ask him to come sit on the minbar in Masjid Nabwi, and he would say, reply back, wa ruhul qudsi ma'ak, and may Angel Jibreel inspire you to defend me. They asked him that, how are you going to, one of the ways that the Arab poets used to attack each other would be by attacking the family of the object of their attack. So they said, how are you going to attack the Quraysh? Because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself is from the Quraysh. Unfortunately, many of his family members are on the wrong side, mushrikeen side. So he said that I will take you out very easily, and I will, just like a hair is taken out from the dough, it slides out. So I will, insha'Allah, do that on your behalf. Anyway, over here he fell into this. Hamna bint Jahash, the sister of Zainab bint Jahash, wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Zainab bint Jahash, when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked her, what do you say about Aisha? Do you think this is possible? She was a co-wife, and the co-wife in the Arabic language is called darra. Darratun, from the word darar, because they harm one another. They're out to compete with one another naturally for the love of the husband. So that's a very natural phenomenon. So that's why the co-wife is called in the Arabic language darra. Sokan in Urdu is called darra in Arabic, from the word darar. And that is the reason why it is prohibited in the deen, وَأَن تَجْمَعُوا بَيْنَ الْأُخْتَيْنِ إِلَّا مَا قَدْ سَلَفَ. It is haram to have two sisters in a nikah at the same time, because the relationship between sisters is so sacred and so honored that we do not want to, the Sharia does not want to destroy that by creating a scenario where they are competing with each other for the love of the one husband. So Zainab bint Jahash was a darra, and when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked her, she said, no, I do not know anything but khair about Aisha Siddiqa. I believe this is impossible. Where when we talk about crimes and criminal cases, there's one is where's the weapon, murder weapon, and then there's always the motive to differentiate between manslaughter and homicide. Is there intentional, is there intention, is there a motive? So Zainab bint Jahash had a motive, but she did not fall into this. However, unfortunately, Talha ibn Ubaidullah radiallahu anhu, one of the Ashra Mubashara, his wife, Hamna bint Jahash, fell into this crime. And then we have Mistah, who's coming if you ever get to it. Inshallah, maybe we'll have a part 3 tomorrow. So, so subhanallah, Mistah radiallahu anhu, who was a nephew, we could say, by relation of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. So he was like a cousin of Aisha Siddiq radiallahu anha, in the sense that his grandmother was a khala of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. So his maternal grandmother, his nani, was a khala of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. His mother, Mistah, was a first cousin of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, Khalili Behan, maternal cousin. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was giving him a stipend, was paying for him because he was a faqir, miskeen, he was a poor man. So he was a second cousin, you could say, of Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha. He fell into this crime. But what happened is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave him. So this punishment of 80 lashes was actually meted out. Hassan bin Sabit, Mistah radiallahu anhu, they actually got lashed. Of course, they survived it, they continued living after that. But this had of qadhaf, of the capital punishment for falsely accusing someone, was not something just theoretical, but actually was implemented. Anyway, over here Allah Ta'ala says, بَلْ هُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ, it's good for you. لِكُلِّ مِرِئٍ مِّنْهُمْ مَكْتَسَبَ مِنَ الْإِثْمِ. Okay, we finished ayah 11. Ayah 12 was, why don't you say هَذَا إِفْكٌ مُبِينٌ, this is a grave allegation. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So until there is incriminating evidence such that a person is, there's no doubt about it, right? There's no shred of doubt, 100% is established. Until then, we must remain always silent. Nowadays, unfortunately, every single day we see in the news that DNA tests reveal the innocence of a criminal. Some people are released after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. There are examples of people being released after 50 years. Some of them have been 50 years in solitary confinement, in undergoing torture and this and that. And then they are finally released based on DNA evidence that they were innocent all the time. So even if somebody in the Muslim community ends up going to jail, you still don't know if they're truly guilty or not. May Allah Ta'ala protect us from being ever falsely accused. But what happens many times is that it is very naive to believe that the system of justice is actually always trying to establish justice. There are cases where justice is being established, but there are a lot of cases where dhulm is occurring. A person has limited financial resources and he may not be able to pay for good defense lawyers. Sometimes incriminating evidence is created and implanted on the individual. And if it is a criminal case, then it's actually the entire government of the United States against you. People of the United States versus one individual. Or, people of the state of Illinois. And the government, I cannot say has unlimited funding, but has significant more funding than one individual does. And they may be pushing so many things against a person, and then they have this whole, okay, let's do you want to do an out-of-court settlement, plea deal, just plead guilty, and then we will reduce your sentence. So you have two options. You fight and lose, and then your life in jail, or you just do a plea deal and say that, okay, whatever, I admit to the crime, and then you have, only 40 years, 30 years. And maybe if you have good behavior, you get out of parole, after 10 years, 12 years. So you're faced with these. So just like in different countries in the third world, or some may say back home, it's not a good scenario we're talking about to refer to it fondly as back home. But in other countries, it may be that they take somebody and, ulta latkana, like hang him upside down and beat him with a whip and make him forced signature. But this is pretty much the same thing. So there is forcing somebody to confess by physical torture, or forcing somebody to confess by creating such a situation where they have no choice. So you never know. And what do we get by talking about people? There's no benefit. Yes, when it comes to protecting yourself, like you don't want to engage with such a person, you don't want to be near such a person, yeah, protect yourself, your children. Fine. I'm not saying that you need to go out of your way to support them and fight for them and say that they are definitely innocent. Or swear by their character, integrity of their character, such an individual. You don't need to do that either, right? You don't need to do that. You can just avoid them altogether. Avoid the whole discussion. It's okay to say, I have no comment. It's absolutely okay to say, I have no comment. Because, like the students come with different things. They say, I just don't like this individual, this person bothering me. So what did Sayyidina, somebody came to Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu and asked for advice. He said, "I'tazil man yu'dhik." Stay away from the one who's bothering you. There is no Shari regulation that you have to be best friends with everybody. If your personalities don't match, then just don't stay with don't hang around with such a person that's bothering you or you are bothering them. The Sharia says that don't backbite anyone, don't hurt anyone, don't swear at anyone, don't slander anyone, don't fight with anyone. It doesn't say you have to be best friends with everyone. You can just avoid them. That's totally fine. That's in fact what you should do. So over here, you should just avoid the whole thing. When you're asked, hey, what do you say about this? What do you say? "La nusaddiqu wa la nukadhibu." Neither do I testify to the integrity of this person, that he is the most holy, righteous person, nor do I say that he's a criminal. I don't know, I wasn't there. So I don't need to say anything. And Rasulullah ﷺ said, this is min husni islamil mar'i, one of the most beautiful things about a person's Islam is tarkuhu ma la ya'ni, to avoid speaking about that which he does not know. Because this is the zamana of fitan, zamana of allegations. So people of dunya, there are allegations against them. People of deen, there are allegations against them. There's allegations about anyone who is well-known, popular, and different types of allegations. When it comes to fitnatul shahwat, fitnatul nisa, fitnatul mal, fitnatul this. So if you're not involved, then best thing is always to remain silent. Say, I don't know. Why should? And when it comes to the Sahaba, we should say that Allah has forgiven them. As one of the Salaf, I believe Umar bin Abdul Aziz rahimullah, was asked about what do you say about Ali and Muawiyah and all of those battles, then he said, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept my sword pure from their blood, then why do I want to defile my tongue with their flesh? So there's no need to say anything. لولا جاءوا عليه بأربعة شهداء, why didn't they bring 4 witnesses? فإذا لم يأتوا بالشهداء in ayah 13, if they didn't bring witnesses, فأولئك عند الله هم الكاذبون, they are the liars in the eyes of Allah. Ayah 14, ولولا فضل الله عليكم ورحمته, if it wasn't the fadl of Allah upon you and His mercy, في الدنيا والآخرة, in this dunya and the akhirah, لمسكم فيما أفضتم فيه عذاب عظيم, a great adhab of Allah would descend upon you. Allah's fadl upon you, meaning the believers who got caught up in this, that Allah's adhab azim didn't come upon you and destroy you. Allah, إِذْ بِأَلْسِنَتِكُمْ, how dare you were passing this slander around and speaking about this with your tongues. Obviously when you speak, what do you speak with? You speak with your tongue. But Allah Ta'ala is adding emphasis and ta'keed here to show that you are literally using your tongue for this. This is what I gave you a tongue for. So just like, for example, in the effort of da'wah and mashwara, when they do mashwara, a lot of things are translated from Urdu into English, which actually doesn't truly make sense in English, but it's translated. So when somebody gives his opinion in the mashwara, in Urdu they say, dil mein baat aa rahi hai. Right? This. So, but if you translate it in English, then they say it's coming in the heart. So one of our dear friends, he actually was in America, he moved back to South Africa, Mount Junaid Karsani. So one time he was joking and he said that the thought is coming in my heart and I'm speaking with my tongue and you're hearing with your ear. The thought comes in the heart. Where else is it going to come? The thought is coming in my heart and I'm speaking with my tongue and you're hearing with your ear. What other organ are you going to hear with? You're going to hear with your ear only. Thought is only going to come in the heart. So when I was reading this ayah, that statement of his joke came to mind from 20 years ago. He said, if talaqawnahu, you are spreading this rumor around, what are you going to spread it with? I guess you could technically with your fingers if you're texting it. But over here Allah Ta'ala is saying, bi'alsinatikum, you're using your tongue to speak like this. Even though you're going to only speak with your tongue. Meaning this tongue was for the dhikr of Allah, was for saying good. فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا أو لِيَصْمُتْ, speak good or be silent. وَتَقُولُونَ بِأَفْوَاهِكُمْ مَا لَيْسَ لَكُمْ بِهِ عِلْمٍ, and you're using your mouths to speak such words concerning which you have no knowledge. وَتَحْسَبُونَهُ هَيِّنًا, you thought it was a light matter. You thought it wasn't a big deal. وَهُوَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ عَظِيمٌ, rather it is a very big deal. So this tells us that ignorance of Allah is not acceptable in the court of Allah for a violation of Allah. Ignorance of Allah is not an acceptable excuse for violation of Allah. So if somebody, is at a stoplight and then, there's no traffic, he turns left and the cop catches him. He said, so many times I should have turned right, nobody caught me, so I turned left. What's the difference? He said, no. Turning right is okay, turning left is not okay. I never knew that. I really never knew that. I've always been turning right and I've been turning left. I've turned right in front of cops, they didn't catch me. I've turned right and left many times without cops. So it's the same thing. So he said, no. I didn't know that. So is that acceptable? No. Because the fact that you have a driver license means that you somehow passed the rules of the road. How you passed that, Allahu A'lam. But you passed the test. Maybe this is the one answer you got wrong, but then overall you got 90%. You don't have to have 100%. That's pretty scary. You should be 100%. Anyway, so you passed by 90% and then you got this one wrong and you got your license, but you're supposed to? No. So if somebody says on the Day of Judgment, I didn't know, well, too bad, you're supposed to know. So the first thing is you have to acquire ilm. And after you acquire ilm, you have to make amal. If somebody amal is wrong because he didn't have ilm, then that's what Allah Ta'ala says. وَتَحْسَبُونَهُ هَيِّنًا, you thought it wasn't a big deal. وَهُوَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ عَظِيمٌ, in the eyes of Allah it is a big deal. وَلَوْلَا إِسْتَمِعْتُمُوهُ, when you heard this, why was it not that you should have said, مَا يَكُونُ لَنَا أَن نَتَكَلَّمَ بِهَذَا, it does not befit us to speak in such a manner. سُبْحَانَكَ هَذَا بُهْتَانٌ عَظِيمٌ, subhanallah, this is a grave allegation. يَعِذُكُمُ اللَّهُ أَن تَعُودُوا لِمِثْلِهِ أَبَدًا. Ayah 17. Allah, there's 18 ayat, or if you maybe 3, there's a difference of opinion. If it's directly about Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu anha, 15 ayat Allah revealed about her bara. 15 ayat. There was an allegation against Yusuf alayhi salam we talked about. Allah made a baby speak from the cradle. إِن كَانَ قَمِيصُهُ قُدَّ مِن قَبْلٍ, if he is tearing his shirt from the front, فَصَدَقَتْ, she is true, وَهُوَ مِنَ الْكَاذِبِينَ, he is lying. وَإِن كَانَ قَمِيصُهُ قُدَّ مِن دُبُرٍ, if his shirt is torn from the back, then فَكَذَبَتْ, she is lying, وَهُوَ مِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ, he is speaking the truth, right? So he not only testified for the bara'a and of Yusuf alayhi salam, he gave the whole logical reasoning. The fact that he's saying anything is strange. But even if this is a baby in the crate, if he says Baba or Mama, it's not supposed to be. It's premature, not premature birth, premature speech. But he's saying, if he just said he's innocent, that would be amazing. But he's giving a whole logical explanation too. Subhanallah. So the Mufassirin say when Yusuf alayhi salam crime was alleged, the baby spoke. When Maryam alayhi salam's honor was attacked, baby Isa alayhi salam, what did he say? Fasharat ilay, she turned to the baby. They said, Ya ukhta Haruna ma kana abuki imra'a saw. Oh, Maryam, your father was a righteous man. وَمَا كَانَ أُمُّكِ مَا كَانَ أَبُوكِ امْرَأَ سَوْءٍ. Your father and mother, they were honorable people. How did you commit this sin? فَشَارَتْ إِلَيْهِ, she indicated to the baby. قَالُوا كَيْفَ نُكَلِّمُ مَنْ كَانَ فِي الْمَهْدِ صَبِيًّا. How can we speak to a baby in the cradle? Why are you pointing to the baby? You need to reply. Then he spoke up. قَالَ إِنِّي عَبْدُ اللَّهِ آتَانِيَ الْكِتَابَ وَجَعَلَنِي نَبِيًّا, etc. And he declared his mother was innocent. So when Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu anha was falsely alleged, no baby spoke from the cradle. But Allah Ta'ala revealed the 18 ayat in the Quran. And in the long hadith that we'll get to, inshallah, maybe tomorrow I think, is that I started last night. She says that in my wildest dreams, I never imagined wahyun yutla, wahy that Allah, that tilawat is done of, would be revealed. I never imagined that or hoped for that. Maximum, I thought Allah Ta'ala was sending a dream to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He would see in his dream, like he would, and the dream of the Anbiya are also wahy. That's why when Ibrahim alayhi salam told his son, Ya bunayya, oh my dear son, inni ara fil manam, I saw a dream, anni athbahuk, that I am slaughtering you. Fandur, think about it, mada tara, what's your opinion? He didn't say, oh Abajan, oh father, ya abati, oh my dear father, you had a nightmare. He didn't say that. What did he say? If'al ma tu'mar, fulfill the command Allah has given you. So Ismail alayhi salam, when he was young, he understood that the dream of the Anbiya, the dreams of the prophets are also wahy. So she said that I thought he'll get a dream to indicate I'm innocent. Or Jibreel alayhi salam will come and tell him. But I never ever hoped or imagined that Allah Ta'ala would reveal so many, or any ayah, part of the Quran about me. I never thought I was that important in the eyes of Allah. And I was so overwhelmed by gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is why the scholars say that whoever speaks ill of Abu Bakr and Umar, that is fisq. But whoever attacks the honor of Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha is kufr. Straight up kufr. And if he was a Muslim who did so, after it is explained and he has the opportunity, I have to give all the disclaimers and a whole panel of ulama, and he persists in that, and he's given opportunity to seek scholarly guidance, and then in an Islamic khilafah with the qadi, not taking the law into our own hands, not vigilante justice, then yuqtalu, he will be killed, because this is irtidad. Right? La ikrah fi din, there's no compulsion to join the faith. So any kafir, if he's attacking Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha's honor, he will not yuqtalu. He will not even be beaten, because there's freedom of speech for the. So it's like joining the military. You sign up, but then after that, if there's insubordination, then you could face the firing squad, right? Because you're not following orders. So likewise, a person after accepting Islam becomes a murtad, na'udhu billah, then there is a capital punishment for that one. So attacking the honor of Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha is kufr. And Khomeini, he wrote that if I take over Medina, I will dig up her grave and I will lash her. Right. Because of a hatred for Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. La ilaha, astaghfirullah. So Allah Ta'ala says here, تحسبون حينا, you thought it was not a big deal. Then ayah number 16, why didn't you say هذا بهتان عظيم? Ayah number 17, يعظكم الله أن تعودوا لمثله. Allah tells you, warns you, you better not ever return to such a crime. أبدا, ever, ever. إن كنتم مؤمنين, if you're a mu'min. So it is under the tafsir of this, they say, if you're a mu'min, you better not do this. Meaning if you do it, you're not a mu'min anymore. Straight up is kufr. ويبين الله لكم الآيات, ayah 18, Allah is clearly explaining His signs to you. Wallahu alimun hakim. And Allah is fully aware and is fully mighty and powerful. Innal ladhina yuhibbuna, verily those people who like it, who love, an tashia al-fahisha, that obscene things should become popular and common amongst the ummah. Fil ladhina amanu, among the believers. Lahum adhabun alimun fid dunya wal akhirah, for them is a dreadful torment in the dunya and akhirah. Wallahu ya'lamu antum la ta'lamun, Allah knows and you do not know. Meaning these people, they did not spread obscenities. They never did anything obscene. Why do they have adhabun alimun fi dunya wal akhirah? It's just because yuhibbuna an tashia al fahisha. They desired and wanted it to happen. So imagine the one who actually does it. And how does the tashia al fahisha? Is by speaking of shar, speaking of bad things, and spreading fitna and obscene things in the ummah through all of the avenues that we don't need to talk about. So imagine the crime of actually spreading obscene behavior. Whereas over here it just says yuhibbuna an tashia al-fahisha. They just desire that immoral things should and obscene things should spread in the ummah. For them al-adhabun alim. Wallahu la fadlullahi alaykum wa rahmatuhu wa inna Allah ra'ufur rahim. If it wasn't the fadl of Allah and rahmah upon you, again Allah Ta'ala says third time. There's 3 times mentioned here. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu la tattabi'u khutuwat ash-shaytan. All those who believe, do not follow the footsteps of shaitan. Ayah 21. So inshallah we will continue with this discussion. And I hope that there are many beautiful lessons for us that we are learning along the way. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to, I guess the key take-home point from today is to not defile our tongues and to keep our hearts clean and not to speak about people when even no matter what the scandals out there may be. And again, remember, I'm just being the devil's advocate. Somebody may say that, hey, you're telling us to continue to blindly trust people, and with our wealth, with our donations, with our financial help, or sending our children to such criminals, pedophiles, or whatever the case is. Absolutely not. Right? You have to balance between the two. You wanted me to continue to remain a bay'ah and take spiritual advice from such a monster? Is that what you're saying? No, na'udhu billah, no. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you don't know for sure, right? So therefore, just remain silent. But then try to find, as a shaykh or as a mufti or as a scholar you take advice from, or someone you want to support, who you feel that you have more trust in. So that's the exact safe position to remain in the middle. So we have people who go both extremes, that despite a lot of potential criminal behavior out there and many times being exposed, many times significant evidence against someone, they're just blind to that. And they continue to support. And that particular person may end up having more victims. And their own children may become victims of that individual. Or their own wives, their own daughters. Right? So that's wrong. And on the opposite side, there's potentially innocent people, and then we end up attacking them and slandering them. We have to avoid both extremes. Keep ourselves safe and remain silent and ask Allah Ta'ala's protection. Because if such giants are having allegations against them, then where do we stand? Those who had the suhbah of mashayikh, those who studied for so many years, those who had religious upbringing, if they can fall prey to the nafs and shaitan, then what about me? What about myself as I am a sinner? I don't even have that much ilm of deen. I don't even have that much practice. I could end up falling into sin too. As a person who traveled from so far to go and seek a shaykh as we go, or an alim, it was a great alim, he went to go see him. And when he went to go visit him, to benefit from him, he saw him, when he entered the masjid, he was making dua. So he sat very close. You shouldn't spy on anybody. But he was so desirous that he came so close, sitting right behind him. As soon as his dua was finished, he wanted to meet him. And then he heard him saying, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika mina zina. Oh Allah, I seek your protection from zina. So he got so shocked that he couldn't hold it inside, and he ended up exclaiming. He said, Ya Aba Huraira laqad sahibta Rasulallah. Oh Abu Huraira, you are a companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You are the gold medalist of the Madrasa Sufa of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You graduated from Madrasa Sufa, and you are the one who narrated the most hadith. I came so far to meet you, and you're such an old man, and you're saying, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika mina zina. Oh Allah, I seek your protection from zina. So then Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu grabbed his hand, and he said, is Iblis still alive or not? Answer this question. He said, yes. Until then, we can never be considered immune or safe from his attacks. So we seek Allah Ta'ala's protection. May Allah Ta'ala protect us from fitan and safeguard our tongues from slandering anyone. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.